Today we will go ahead with the next part, where we will have to again consider one-dimensional arrays. But this time we will not be treating it as an array, but we want to have a look at the concept of pointer. What is a pointer? What is a pointer? Points at? There are two wordings. One is identifier and second is a pointer. Can you just differentiate between these two? Can you differentiate between identifier and pointer? What is identifier? It has to be declared, so needs declaration. That will be the type that you will be specifying, type and the name of that identifier. Anything else that you know with the identifier as such? We say that memory will be allocated in general automatically. Memory will be allocated automatically. Name has relation with some memory location. And in general it's a fixed relation. That means every time that identifier will correspond to the same memory location. When referred, we get value. Whenever you use that particular variable or identifier, you are actually talking about the value of it. You can close that too. We are actually talking about the value. We can say that value can change. Value can be changed, but not the location. Value of that particular identifier can be changed, but you cannot change the memory location which is associated with it. Right? Anything else? You know these points or you don't know them? At least this you know, that the value of the identifier can be changed. You know that whenever you use A, you are talking about the value of it. Name has relation with memory location, because that value that you are talking of, that will be stored somewhere in the memory. Where, what is the address, we don't know. But it will be always the same location. It's not that you refer to A for the first time, you are talking about a particular memory location, and the next reference will give us some other location. ऐसा नहीं होता, because you are fetching the same value, you are storing the value at the same location. So there is a relation of that identifier name with the memory location, which is going to be a fixed relation, which is again said over here that you cannot change the location, value can be changed. And how does the memory get allocated? We don't do anything except declaring it. But that identifier will be associated with some memory location. That memory will be allocated automatically. Automatically means either the compiler or the system will do that job. For us, only the declaration will be more than sufficient. Right? Now what about a pointer? What is a pointer? Is it again a variable? Yes. So pointer is a variable. What does it contain? It contains address of memory location. Need not be base address, because it can contain address of a single variable also. Can pointer have a type? Can pointer have a type? Type associated with pointer declaration is the type of data stored at the memory location whose address is stored in pointer variable. See the wording carefully. If I have declared some pointer, this is some PTR, then in memory you have several memory locations. It might be pointing to a particular location. So this particular address is stored over here. Now the type that is associated, with pointer declaration, when you declare the pointer, is not the type of that pointer, but it is the type of the data which you will find at this memory location. So we will not be asking a question whether a pointer which is declared for integer, what size it will have, and a pointer that is declared for float, what size it will be having. All the pointers, they will be containing the address of the memory location, and address of memory location is not going to be a different one for integers and for float. It is going to be the same address. The size of that particular memory the address is always going to be of same size. So far as pointers are concerned, they will be all having the same size. But when you declare them, at that time some data type will be associated. Then what is that data type? It's not the data type that is of the data which is stored in the pointer, because pointer will always contain the address, but it will be the type of the data which will be stored in the memory location whose address is stored in the pointer. So if I have this particular pointer as integer type, that means I should fetch the address, I should go to that particular memory location, and over there I will find integer value. If it is a float type, then this particular address that I have, when I reach that address, I should be fetching 4 bytes of data, because it is float type. If it is character type, I should be fetching only 1 byte. Okay. So in a way, what you are saying is it is base address. It is not base address, it is start address, because base address will be the wording typically used with the arrays. Okay, make a note. And can we complete this comparison? Pointer, does it need declaration? Yes. Will memory be allocated automatically? So far as pointer variable is concerned, pointer is again a variable. To store that particular address, some memory will be required, and that memory will be allocated automatically. So memory will be allocated automatically. Pointer name has got a fixed relation with the memory location. When referenced, we get address. And now value can be changed, but not the location. So again, address in it can be changed, and also value at that location, value at that address can be changed. You can change the address which is stored in the pointer, because it is a variable. Using that address, you can go to that memory location which is pointed, and you can change this value also. Both the things are possible. Need. One of the very standard code to interchange the values of A and B. Now if I want to use function for it, so the data is already there, I call the function interchange A comma B. How do we write this interchange function? Int p comma int q. How one should write it? Int temporary, and then temp equal to P, P equal to Q, Q equal to temp. And after this, if I print values of A and B, what will be the output? Output will be unfortunately again 7 and 4. When I go through this, output will be 4 and 7. If I call this function, output will remain the same. Actually something that we had actually considered in the first or second lecture. What happens is the mechanism for the function, when you are passing the parameters, P and Q, they will be allocated memory locally. And when you call the function, value of A will be transferred to the first parameter, value of B will be transferred to second parameter. So here you will have value 7 and value 4 in P and Q. Through this particular code, you will interchange values of P and Q. They will become 4 and 7. But remember, this transfer is strictly one directional. On completion of the function, these values will not be copied back, because A and B, they have got their own memory locations somewhere, and these are not the locations which we are referring over here. Ultimately the change has taken place, but at some other memory locations. When you come back and you refer to A and B, you are still referring to the same two locations, and the values will remain the same because the change has not affected. Now what is the need over here? I should be accessing the same two memory locations, and if the same two memory locations are to be accessed, then I should be passing the two memory locations, which will be respectively ampersand A and ampersand B. Those are the addresses. That is what we have learned in scanf, that whenever you attach ampersand sign before a variable, you are talking about address of that particular variable, address of that identifier. Because I want the change to affect the same memory locations are important, not the value. Here the values get transferred. I want to transfer the memory location. Ultimately what will be transferred from here? The addresses. And then I want somebody over here who can pick up that address. And for that, the declaration for the first time for the pointers will be just by attaching star before it. So P and Q will be two variables which will be declared locally in that function, are two variables as we had in the previous case. But those are not of integer type, those are pointer type. What they will contain? Here also still the value is transferred, but this value is not the integer value, but it will be the address. So address is transferred, so ultimately P will contain address of A and Q will contain address of B. Address is passed as a value. Got it? Then if I write a code like this, don't write anything. Can you tell me what will happen? P and Q, the values of P and Q, which happen to be the addresses of A and B. So P and Q, their values will be interchanged. So P will now contain address of B and Q will now contain address of A. After this, if I print values of A and B, what will be the effect? What values will be printed? Same, still 7 and 4, because this will again not change the addresses of A and B. No. What do you want to do? You will have to pick up this value, this address, go to that location, because now this P will ultimately point to variable A and this Q will ultimately take me to variable B. So I will have to use the indirect reference, not just by the name, as I did over here, A and B. Here it was directly the value that was referenced and affecting the same memory location. Now using P and Q, I will have to go for the indirect reference. Here I am using P and Q directly. When P and Q are used, those are pointers. What is integer? It is star P. What do we mean by star P? It should be read as value at the location pointed by P. So I won't declare this as star temp, but it will be integer because I want to swap integer values, not the pointers. I will say temp is equal to star P. That means temp will now contain the value at the location which is pointed by P. So temp will now contain value 7. Then I will say star P equal to star Q. So at the location pointed by P, what should we store? The value at the location pointed by Q. Value at the location pointed by Q is 4. That value should be stored at the location pointed by P. Location pointed by P is this location, and here I will get 4. And then again star Q equal to temp. That means value at the location pointed by Q should be the contents of temp. Temp right now contains 7. So value at the location pointed by Q will now become 7. So it will be 7. And when I come out and print values of A and B, now the output will be 4 and 7. Okay? Make a note. Any difficulty? Instead of reading it as star P star Q, better read it as value at the location pointed by P. That will be a good habit, because otherwise you are likely to make lot of mistakes into it. The general confusion is when we are talking about P or star P, whether we are talking about the address or the contents. So this will never work. No tricks like you should be printing P and Q from here. I call the function because I want the job to be done. Okay. बाहर मुझे प्रिंट आउट मतलब स्क्रीन पे क्या दिखता है, that is not important. Generally the output should be generated through main only. not through the function. Or if you are to give the output through the function, then that function should be simply printing the values and should not be processing. दोनों काम साथ साथ नहीं करें. Either there will be a function for processing or there should be a function only for printing. So whatever formats you want to give. Mixing up will always create problem, because here if I write printf p and q, then I will get the output as 4 and 7. But when I try to process a and b, still I will have the original values. So you will get a feel like the values are getting interchanged, but when I use them, they are still the original value. That's why that particular output should not be from here. Whenever you give some job for the processing, once the function is complete, when you come back, then you try and print the values, and if the result is as expected, you can go ahead. Otherwise that function is not working properly. Okay? Or function is not working as per your expectation. Here the function is working properly, but you are expecting that values of a and b should be changed, whereas that effect is not yet achieved. We are going back to the string functions which we have already written, this time using pointers. We have already said that array name is nothing but the start address. Array name is nothing but the start address. So whenever I pass the array name, I was earlier picking it up as array only. I was calling string length s, and then inside the function parameter was s empty square brackets. So it was still array. Now I will write the string length function as, it will be char star s. Call remains the same. You will still call it with the name of that particular string. So string length name. Name is array. This is how it will be called, and this is how it was called even in the earlier case. But the array name contains base address that I will be now storing in the pointer s. Right? So s will now contain the start address of that particular character array name. Char star p. And I will say while star s, or slightly simplified, I will say p is equal to s while star p plus plus. Just try and see what is happening. I have some character array which was having the name as name. This address is passed to s. So here s will contain name, means the address, means this will ultimately point to the same location. I am making a copy of that address in P. So this was S. I also have P, which will contain the same address. So this also will point to the same thing, P. What do we mean by star P? Star P should be read as value at the location pointed by P. What is value at the location pointed by P? A, character A. While star P, what does it mean? First of all, something when we write directly, it should be treated as not equal to 0. That means not equal to backslash 0 in this case, character backslash 0. That means while the character at the location pointed by P is not backslash 0, this is how it will be read. P plus plus, what will it do? It is not changing the contents, it is not incrementing the content, but it is incrementing the address. Ultimately, P will go to the next location. Now, for character array it is okay, it is incremented, plus plus is add 1 or increment by 1. If it would have been integer array, if the similar condition is to be written, if I increment the pointer for integer, it will not get incremented by 1, but it will be default incremented by the size. We will still be writing it as plus plus. Plus plus means go ahead with the next location. For float, it will be incremented by 4 bytes. We will still write it as plus plus. So here it is incremented by 1, and it goes on incrementing and finally reaches this. After the last increment, star P, that is value at the location pointed by P, will be backslash 0, that is false. Okay, so the loop will be broken. So now P is at the last location. Consider, for example, a case, suppose this address would have been 1200. What will be contents of P? It will be initially 1200, then it becomes 1201, 2, 3, 4, 5. It becomes 1205. S is still at 1200. Difference in these two is nothing but the length. Difference in these two is the length. Just to recall, we had our earlier function written in this manner. This was our string length function which we had written previously. Which is more effective? Which is more effective? And why? If you observe, there is an increment here and increment over here. So same, one loop, one loop. One variable, maybe here it is of 4 bytes and here it is of 2 bytes. ठीक है. How will you check the efficiency? Why is it faster? If you recall, I have told you earlier how the address will be calculated. It will be always base address plus I into the size. So whenever you are referring to S of I, first of all, I gets multiplied by 1. That will be the offset which will be added to S. And then at that address, from that address the value will be fetched. So there is one multiplication, one addition which will go extra every time, and that's why this gets slow. It's not because we are using pointers so this is faster. It is because array reference will always result in the calculation of the offset, calculating the address, and then ultimately the same effect. Go to that location and fetch the address, fetch the value. वो तो रहेगा ही, because you are comparing the value. So value will be always compared. But how do you reach that particular location is important. Because it will be always the same answer that you will give me for all the remaining functions. Because we are using pointers, it is faster. Pointer से fast क्यों? हाँ.
Pointers you have to refer the memory twice. First to access the address of the variable, and the second time to access the value. So accessing the memory is difficult. So in that case, this is
No, why is it difficult?
so it requires time.
How much time? Definitely not the time that is taken up. See, one memory access, so you are still.
But this is two.
Oh, but here it is containing one multiplication and one addition. I believe whatsoever is the branch, you must have learned some algorithm like Booth's algorithm and all for multiplication. You know the complexity of that. Here there is no calculation. No. Accessing the memory, that will be the fastest thing in the processing. Memory access will be always faster than any other calculation that you do. Then how many times memory is accessed here? Once you access memory for I, then you calculate, multiply. You store it in some memory location temporary, because where will you store that multiplication? Because unless you store it, you cannot add it to the base address. So you will store it in some memory location. Then you will fetch the base address, you will fetch the offset that you have calculated. So another two accesses of the memory. Calculate the addition that should be stored in the memory location, and then you access the actual data. Forget the time required for multiplication and addition. Still this will result in indirectly 4 memory accesses. Next, string copy. Void strcpy char star s1 comma char star s2 while star s2 star s1 equal to star s2 s1 plus plus s2 plus plus, and then you close the first string. While the second string does not end, at the location pointed by S1, copy the contents of the location pointed by S2. Go to the next location to 1 which is pointed by S1, so increment S1. Go to the next memory location than the one which is pointed by S2. And being arrays, we are going in the successive memory locations. When the contents at the location pointed by S2 is null, loop will break. You will copy that null or \0 to the location pointed by S1 at that moment. The corresponding code was while S2 of I, it was S1 of I equal to S2 of I plus plus, and again S1 of I equal to say backslash 0 or S2 of I. Now calculate. Effectively we say that here there was only one increment, here are two, but then there are so many accesses and which are repeated, and every access will result in a multiplication addition. Calculation of offset, adding that offset to the base address, getting the memory location and fetching the data or storing the data over. Using for loop, of course, it will be very easy. With the common question is what will happen if I put plus plus along with this one. That means if I write it as star S1 plus plus equal to star S2 plus plus, like that instead of this, will it work? If yes, how? If no, why? Last statement may still be there. Or should there be a bracket over here? Definitely the first bracket is invalid. You are not going to say it like this. It will increment the contents. Character A ka character B ho jayega. That we don't want. We want to increment the address. So if we don't put the brackets, what is the priority? Whether accessing the data is the first higher priority or increment is higher priority. And then using brackets, and whether it works, or does S1 contain a shifted array, or you lose one character. This will definitely work, there is no issue. Writing the third part like this could be a trouble. I don't think that we will have to consider all the functions. Now you can convert them. Next will be strcat, strcmp, str reverse, substr. Those will be the functions. Pointers used with structures. In this course, the only structure that we know is struct sparse, which was having shortened row, column and float val, declared as a new type SPR. A function read direct that we had written using the array will now be written without any explanation using the pointer. And if you understand it well, otherwise I will explain. read direct में we used to ask m and n na initially. So those two, printf scanf. M n I j भी था उसमें. It was the standard thing for I equal to 0, I less than m. Refer back to the earlier function. For j equal to 0, j less than n, j plus plus. And then we used to accept the values scanf, %f and v. And if v is not equal to 0, that was our main code. We used to say sp1 square bracket k1 dot row. Refer to the code. Was it sp1 square bracket k1 dot row equal to I? So instead of that, now it will be sp1 arrow row equal to I, sp1 arrow column equal to j, sp1 arrow val is equal to v, sp1 plus plus, and this is over. The only drawback, one second, before you take it down. The only drawback is at the end you have started with some location. See, it was still one-dimensional array. So initially the address that I have passed, that was pointing to the first location, 0th one. First thing is I want to put the values from the beginning, from position 1, not from position 0. So truly speaking, I should be storing the starting location somewhere, because I will be putting how many rows, columns and how many non-zero values. Rows and columns so I can always put. M and n I can always store, but I will have to also store the information about the number of non-zero values at the 0th location. The 0th location whose address is already available to me. Initially it was pointing, base address means the 0th location, which I am losing first of all. So either I will prefer to have a copy of it as spr star start, suppose, and I will store that start as sp1, because sp1 afterwards goes ahead. But this is not sufficient, because again the very first value that is given by the user will be stored at location 0, whereas I want to store it in location 1. So I will have to also increment sp1 before I actually enter into this loop, so that it will be at location 1, and from location 1 it will work properly, every time incrementing. Using pointer, whenever you try to access the elements, it is not the dot operator, but it will be the arrow operator. Meaning remains the same. It will be the variable row or value of row at the location which is pointed by sp1. So sp1 will contain the address of the memory location where the data of spr type will be stored. And data of spr type has got 3 fields: row number, column number and value. Out of that, row. So meaning wise it is same as we were saying sp1 square bracket k1 dot row. That means the row number at the kth location. So sp1 has already gone to that location, because every time we are incrementing it, so it goes ahead. So sp1 directly points to the memory location where we will have data of spr type. Data of spr type has got 3 fields: row number, column number and value. Out of that we are looking for row number. So that row number will be accessed, value will be stored over there. Okay, so this initial part is required. This is corresponding to k1 equal to 1. Okay, and then even this opening curly bracket, that will be now closed, and then you will have to say start arrow row equal to M, start arrow column equal to N. The interesting thing is, how will you store val? Because I don't have that K1, which we were storing it as K minus 1. How will you come to know? SP1 minus start. एक से कम करना ही पड़ेगा लेकिन फिर से. So start arrow val will be SP1 minus start minus 1. This concept is same as string length, P minus S था. वही concept. And then that's it. ये printf scanf है to read M and N. Of course a void type function. That's why generally wait for me when I say now take it down. Otherwise even in your notebook you will have all these patches. Just because of number of non-zero values we had to use start. Otherwise it was not required. नहीं तो M and N तो I can set early before incrementing SP1 initially. How to read it? It is value of the row in the location pointed by start. So in the location pointed by start, there is data of S from that row. So getting it, start will always point to the memory location where data of SPR type will be stored. That's why it is a pointer to SPR. So whenever you use SP1 or start, because both are SPR type, you will be always having a address of the memory location where data of SPR type will be there. But SPR type is not a singular type, it's a combination. So at that location you will have in all three fields, row, column and val. So which one? Otherwise in character arrays we did not have this part because it was singular. So it was the data at that location. But data at that location has got three fields. So which of them? It is start arrow row equal to M, start arrow column equal to N, and start arrow val equal to SP1 minus start minus 1. One exercise for 5-10 minutes. I want you to convert add sparse using pointers. Add sparse. Read the entire function. Line by line it should be converted. Now it is easy because K1 plus plus will be replaced by SP1 plus plus. K2 plus plus by SP2 plus plus. K3 plus plus will be SP3 plus plus. SP1 square bracket K1. Or rather you have something like SP3 square bracket K3 dot row. This statement will be in general replaced by SP3 arrow row. always you will have add sparse SPR SP3 star SP3 comma SPR star SP1 comma SPR star SP2. Read that function, write at least first two parts जो 3-3 लाइन के हैं, 7 बार लिखना है वैसे उसमें, पहले 2 लिखो और बाकी डॉट डॉट करके छोड़ दो. So you have the idea as how to convert it. Okay, and then of course fast transpose. फास्ट ट्रांसपोज तो लिखो पूरा. फास्ट ट्रांसपोज में क्या है? फास्ट ट्रांसपोज में कुछ नहीं है, 2 ही जगह पे तो आता है वो, कॉपी करते वक्त. फास्ट ट्रांसपोज नहीं, ठीक है. ओनली एड स्पार्स, राइट? ओनली एड स्पार्स फर्स्ट 2 blocks. When row number column number are equal, that block, and when the row number is less part, rest of the part you can dot dot it. The last part will be menu. As I have said, we will be discussing it once, make changes in it, and then you will be using it for all the other assignments. Okay. What is the main purpose of menu function? Selecting one of the choices. Okay, so far as our say string functions are concerned, okay, you must have written menu for it. What all choices are there? String length, string copy. Okay. So one simple function that we write will be menu, where you will have some integer variable answer, and you will have so many printf statements. As what does 1 stand for? Like that. Okay, and whatever decoration that you want. You will obviously say enter your choice, and then you will accept the answer. You will return that. This will be a general menu function. Our job is not, when I say menu, it is not this function that I am talking of. I am talking about its processing. Because in my main, initially only you will find something like choice is equal to menu. So that menu will be displayed. Okay. Better will be you start with clear screen, so that taking the output phase by phase will be easier rather than a continuous. Okay. So that whenever menu appears, it appears at the same location. Otherwise it will keep on appearing one after the other on the screen. Of course it is going to be switch on choice. Case 1. Now suppose it is for the string, functions. Now how one should write it? Like the first one is length, second one is copy, third one is concat, fourth one is compare, then reverse. Suppose these are the choices. So what will you write in case 1? You will go for something like n equal to strlen of S1. Then you will say print the length is so and so and break. Don't write anything. Case 2. strcpy s1 s2 and printf s1. Third one, can you just tell me where have you taken the input for the strings? In main. Where? Above switch case? Before menu? Where are you taking the input? Above switch case. So here is my statement, get s s1, get s s2, or should it be only get s s1, or should it be only get s s2? Both the strings I should input, or only one? Only one. Why? It will depend on the choice, right? But look at it from the user's point of view. When you say that in concat you will be accepting one string or two strings? Two strings. That means if I have given only string s1 initially, suppose this is not there, then I will have to again enter that. So accept only the second one in the case, and if I want to give two strings, I will be speaking from both the sides. But then I will have to see, that means here there will be get s for s1. I enter it, you tell me the length. I go for copy, you will again ask me the string. That will be irritating. I will have to keep on entering the same string again and again. If you read both the strings, and if I call copy first, I will be losing s1, because that will be overwritten by s2. What will be the best approach? Because user might be looking for changing both the strings sometimes. User might say that, okay, whatever are the current strings s1, s2 concatenate, or current strings s1, s2 are to be compared. That is the difference between the first semester menu function and the second semester. So how do we ask the user? Where will you ask him? Will there be one more menu? Yeah, why not? If you want to rule out that particular problem, you are handling both either the given string, or every time you are asking both the strings, etc. Why not have one more submenu where there will be a choice of enter one string, enter two strings, use the existing. Let it be there. So whenever user presses 1, there will be another submenu which will ask whether you want to enter one string. अब length के लिए वो दो strings देना चाहे तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं? दे दो भैया. So the ball will be in the user's court rather than we handling it and forcing it. Because in that case you will have to tell even the examiner as how to give the input. In this case you don't have to. Here let the program be run by anybody. It will be menu after menu, the cases will come. Got it? So I can have something like k equal to s menu. 1, 2, 3. Enter one string, enter two strings, use existing. Okay? In use existing, you will be displaying both the strings. Existing means what? Which one? Program will become lengthy, no doubt, but it will be the best possible way to write it, because you are not taking any decision on your own. You are not forcing the user to use the first string always, which is inputted at the beginning. No need. If I want to change that, or if you don't want to go for submenu, then here there will be a change. Like enter the string and find length. Second option, find length. Third option, enter the strings and concat. Fourth option, concat. It's one and the same. But then the choices will increase. Let them. So sometimes you will have that particular getters, sometimes you won't have. But then you are free from the entire concept, as you are forcing the user to run the program in a particular way. These multiple cases we did not consider. Our menu in the first term was like this only. So either you must have accepted both the strings and then gone for concatenation, or in concat you must have accepted the second string and then called the function. But then in that case everybody's program will be a different one, and to run it, it will be altogether a different approach, because you will have to understand the code first, which we are definitely not showing the user. User will be simply running the program. The source code is not available. Then your menu should be quite a detailed one. Okay? Or you will always say that you accept S1 and S2. Whenever you enter into concat, you will display S1 and you will say confirm, yes, no. If user says yes, at least he is relieved from entering the string again. If he says no, we will accept the string. Well, that will do. So you start with accepting two strings and go ahead. Now suppose I have given two strings and I have given a choice number 2, that is copy. In that case, first string will be overwritten by second, and then user goes for concatenation. At that time I will be first showing, okay, I am going to concat string S1. So printf, I am concatenating %s with %s, S1 comma S2. So both the strings are shown. Now ask the user confirm. Press yes to continue. Press Y to continue. If user presses yes, you concat. If user presses no, then you will ask him which string is to be changed. Got it? So it will not be as straight as just calling the functions one after the other. Okay, वो फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में PL1 में ठीक था, यहाँ ऐसा नहीं चलेगा, यहाँ और इसके बाद कभी नहीं चलेगा. Are you getting it? Okay. Whatever job you are doing, if it is a job like this, repetitive, where the data is likely to change, first of all show that data, take a confirmation, yes, no. On yes, go ahead, call the function. On no, go for asking the data once again. Okay, so if user wants to continue, just one keystroke, oh, it's just get ch. So I will better write case number 3 only without using submenu. In case 3, the entire statement will go like printf concat %s by %s s1 s2. This is what I will display first of all. So if user has called copy, then both the strings will be identical at that moment. बराबर है? पहले strcpy कॉल किया और पहले इनपुट किए भी थे दोनों स्ट्रिंग्स, तो भी द फर्स्ट वन विल बी ओवर रिटन बाय सेकंड, क्योंकि वो एक के बाद एक मेनू कॉल करता जाएगा. इन दैट केस he might be required to change first one or the second one. So we will just say printf to continue press Y. If user presses anything else, so you will say if get ch is not equal to Y. If it is any other character than Y, then you are required to accept the strings. Okay, so you will say printf get s1 get s2. And then I will call the function strcat s1 s2. Now whether user says yes, in that case this block will be skipped, it will be directly concat. Otherwise he will come through the input and will be concatenated, and our usual printf will be there, that the concatenated string is like this. That is without menu. Indirectly we are using a submenu. Because if you write smenu function, then it will again result in switch case, case 1, case 2, case 3 every time. Okay. Why I am not using submenu? Because now in case of concat this is the job. In case of compare, same. In case of reverse, I will show him only S1. If he is not happy with that, then S2 अगर उसे चाहिए तो फिर लिखना पड़ेगा उसके लिए. So this menu function, either you can make changes in the options, you will be relieved of this job. Input and compare, input and concat. If you go for this, then this if will not be there, but there will be two separate cases. एक बार input and concat, एक बार directly concat. Cases बढ़ेंगे, number of lines of code will remain same. If you have less cases, in that case there will be a condition. Either way, but you will not be forcing the user to run it in a particular manner. Okay, or you can even have string length of S1 or find length of S2 or find length of S3 also, no? वो भी हो सकता है. Or there could be concat S1 by S2 or concat S2 by S1 or concat S3 by S2. अब लिखते जाओ. थर्ड ऑप्शन विल बी, ये दोनों अगर हमें हमसे नहीं हो रहे हैं तो इवन इफ यूजर सेज concat, we were calling it S1 by S2, use the policy that if S1 is to be concatenated by S2, then go for first copy S1 to S3 and concat S3 by S2. So user can still see the result. User can still see the result in S3, but original two strings are never lost. Then it is one time input, fine. So it will be always with S1 and S2 only, but the result we will store somewhere else. Okay, and then you can have a choice. Now if user wants it back in S1, so we will have a choice: copy the result to S1, copy the result to S2. Every time my result will go to S3. Okay, so if user wants to destroy S1, so give him a choice, let him destroy. Getting it? This is another way where we are protecting the input data. We are still performing all the operations, but after copy also that S2 will be copied into S3, and then if user wants it to copy it to S1, we will copy it. When he says that transfer it to S1, transfer it to S2, result to be transferred, even that could be the choice. Then over there user himself is losing the data, we can't help. And you can have one more choice. अब उसमें क्या होगा कि फिर से S1 S2 का इनपुट हम नहीं ले रहे हैं, then what do we do? फिर से अगर मैं इसी प्रोग्राम को रन करते हुए I want two different S1 S2, then what do we do? So I have one more choice as read S3. That is my result, no? So then user should, I am giving him a facility, transfer the result to S1, transfer the result to S2, and I will have read S3. Now if user wants to change S1 S2, he should go for read S3, transfer the result to S1, read S3, transfer the result to S2, and proceed. But user has the way out. It's not that he will be held at a particular position कि इसके बाद कुछ नहीं हो सकता. Otherwise he will have to come out and run the program again and again give the strings. Could be either way. The third one is easier because it doesn't go into those checks. Result is always transferred somewhere, and then if user wants it back in S1 or S2, transfer it. That will be strcpy only. Copy तो करेंगे. We'll stop here. Those who have not submitted the photograph for the iCard,